Which leads us to the worst kept secret in professional law enforcement.
Now I don't want to do it, but I ain't afraid to die. Lord knows I ain't perfect, I ain't trying to tell a lie. It's understood and I ain't in all that woulda, coulda, shoulda. Trying to say you want peace, then you burn the.
It was my God's honest that I was all about a non-violent approach, but it seems truth is a non-topic.
Yeah, did you kind of always know that you're gonna do you have other police officers in your family? Did you always know you were gonna go into this, or?
No, but I grew up in a neighborhood in New York, very lower middle class, and everybody, my group, all the kids, when you turned 16, you took all of the civil service exams. Police, fire, sanitation, took them all. And, you know, a lot of the guys I was hanging out with, we were all ball players. A lot of us were going to get scholarships. We weren't necessarily locked into having to become cops, but it was like something you put in your back pocket and you waited for them to call. And back then it took them a couple of years to get it because so many people took the test. It took a number of years before they got to you. And you're not eligible to be hired until you're 20 anyway. So that was kind of a fallback for me. And I went to school, played ball. I actually left college. I was about 3 credits shy of an English degree. I was bartending one last summer out in the Hamptons. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do with an English degree except teach? And I don't like kids that are younger. I don't like anybody. I don't want to teach. It probably would have been a good career move because then I would have been coaching football.
Yeah,
you know, through that whole time, I'd probably have my own. It
just didn't sound appealing. It didn't sound like what you want to do.
I didn't want to be a teacher. I didn't want to work indoors.
Yeah.
So my plan was to join the Marine Corps. As soon as the summer ended, I was going to go. I already had an agreement with a staff sergeant from the Marine Corps, one of the recruiters that used to drink out in the Bordy Barn. And I says, listen, I'm coming to see you in October. I'm done playing football. I'm done with everything. I said, it's time for me to be a man. I'm going to go to the Marine Corps. He's like, perfect. You're just who we want. That August, my sister finds me out in the Hamptons. Says, you got to come home. Daddy's dying. He's going to lose the house. Mommy's going to be living in the street. I left when I was 17. I didn't want to go back.
Yeah.
But I obviously couldn't let my mother live in the street either.
Yeah.
Right.
So I went back. It was worse than I had previously been led to believe. Like, my father really put them in a bad hole. He was a degenerate gambler. He was an alcoholic. He was just about everything that could be wrong with a man was wrong with him.
Right.
And financially, it took me 8 years to dig her out of that hole. I took the basement apartment in her house in Queens and pretty much paid her mortgage. But at the time, I figured I was going to be a cop for 2 or 3 years, go back to school, get a master's degree, and then get on with my life. I call up the investigator who I had been running around. She wanted me to come up to the Bronx to sign myself off of the list as a candidate. I'm like, yeah. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, I'm not paying a toll to come up to see you. I'm going to see you again. I'm going to Paris Island, and then I'm going somewhere, some deep, dark corner of the world you'll never find.
Right.
I call her back. I'm like, listen, my circumstances in my life have changed drastically. I need the job now. She's like, you son of a bitch. She made me begin my investigation right from the beginning.
Wow.
And she gave me a hard time too. It took it. Finally, I think the thing that put her over the edge, and I got into the academy class that I got into, I was doing ironwork in Manhattan. And it was February, and it was cold, and it was windy. And at 11 o'clock in the morning is your first coffee break. I went downstairs from the 40th floor on the high iron, went to the payphone, called her up crying. You got to get me in the next academy class. I can't do this.
You broke.
Yeah.
You broke.
So basically, that's why I became a cop. But I didn't think I was going to stick with it that long until I got into my first gunfight. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. The adrenaline rush you get.
Yeah.
You like the thrill of it then.
There's nothing in the world that you will ever experience. And unlike if you listen to drug addicts who are always trying to chase that initial high, with respect to an adrenaline rush, there's no diminishment. Every time you get that rush, you're getting just as high.
Right. Yeah, I bet.
So it was horrifying. It was terrifying, but I never felt so alive as when people would try to kill me.
I get that.
Yeah.
I totally get
can
that.
understand that.
Reminds me of the near life experience in Fight Club.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
he makes them drive off the road and
Yeah,
everything. Yeah,
yeah.
that's some Pelniak stuff
Gotta
right
let
there.
go of some control.
Did you have a particular when you came into it, did you have the mind of somebody who kind of wanted to make a difference, certain values you wanted to bring to it, or was it just kind of like, I think I would enjoy this. I like the thrill of it,
All the thrill of it and enjoying it, all of that stuff is incidental. And a lot of people don't get this. Well, there are people that go into civil service and police work who are just looking for a steady paycheck because they'd starve if they were out in private industry.
Yeah.
There aren't that many of them. 95% of everybody who becomes a cop does so because A, they want to do something important. They want to do something to help people. And they want to do something that's, well, frankly, no day is the same as the last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's different every day. So people go into it with all the right reasons. They go in for all the right reasons. What happens of those 95% that go in, kind of want to save the world, is they get beaten down by the system.
Yeah.
And they quit and they go dead and they find an inside detail where they're still cops, but they're not doing police work.
Right.
Because police work is hard.
Yeah.
Which leads us to the worst kept secret in professional law enforcement. And that's 95% of police work is done by 5% of the cops. Everybody else is just turning paper over.
Yeah. I'm kind of gathering that even just from reading your book. Like, I'm not even that far into the first one yet, but like I can see like that it's, a select few that really know what they're doing and are
like go-getters, kind of.
Yeah, I think I refer to them as gun guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it the system that's really beating these guys down, or is it also what they're seeing in the street? Because I feel like you see enough death and just horrible people, it's going to start wearing on you. It's going to start making you dark.
Well, you know what? There's that, but I'm speaking in terms of like the early mid 80s. The system, government wasn't beating you down as badly. You didn't have district attorneys who were after you like they are today. They flat out want to lock you up for looking crooked at something.
Right.
You literally cannot be the police in today's environment, at least in New York. And that's the reason why so many of these cops are lasting a year and resigning. They're like, nope, not for me.
Yeah.
And I get it. I understand. I couldn't be
You're not allowed to do your job is the problem.
I couldn't be a cop in this environment. Ultimately, what happens is, of those 95% that go in wanting to do the right thing and get beaten, the ones that get beaten down, for the most part, they get beaten down because it's hard. It's not for everyone.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
And the thing about the police department, at least in the NYPD, it's such a labyrinthine bureaucracy. There's plenty of stuff to do for guys who don't want to mix it up on the street.
Yeah.
And frankly, we want them to go do those jobs because we don't want them in our way.
Right. Yeah.
They complicate things. They make mistakes.
Right.
They pick on the wrong people.